Hello and welcome all to the third chapter of this year's series of My Uni Experience. So, this chapter takes you up to the Christmas break, I want to say. It's been absolutely chaos and a huge amount of things have taken place. I will have put timestamps in the comments for each topic that I cover here. I'm glad that I started doing that because, yeah, there's a lot. So, let's begin the video with some uni stuff. We have had one module. Our Devised, as we had to finish making our piece that we've been working on for the last 2 months. I can remember when it was a simple game show type thing. It was a bit GCSE looking back, but we started off with that, and I would have had to have played this class clown type figure, and it was quite painful to do so. But when our group was first established, we were a group of 5. Although as it developed and our group merged with another one, we then had this idea of a community hall type thing where we'd have monologues and duologues for each person discussing their mental health. We ultimately would change this though. We got rid of that and we made what we eventually did, which I'll talk about in more detail in a minute. It is absolutely mental to see how our piece developed over the months, It changed so much. Basically, the synopsis of our piece is that when your mental health gets really bad, you end up in this separate dimension, which is the size of a room, completely separate from this one, with other individuals struggling and wanting to come to terms with mental health and whatnot, and then together they all try and help each other and figure out why they're there, because they don't know that the room exists. It's this mysterious place outside of our reality. I really liked our piece and the premise of it. When we began, we had to make it based off a topic that we felt was important, and so mental health came up for this, and it was. Also, we had to include a Welsh myth or legend, which we chose the second branch of the Mabinogion. I'll be honest, I haven't read this or much of the second branch, but we just took the basics really of the story. It's not really that important, but everyone brought their talents together to create the piece. We had Henry and Dan as our directors, and they smashed it. Christian's our lighting and sound adder, tech guy, to put them on the thing. As well as writing as well, of course, with Owen, who got the props that we used. I was the scribe for notes that we took, stuff we wanted to add on. I got the sound effects and I edited the music for Christian to then use. And I wrote a bit in our script for me and Henry to act at the end. Casey wrote her amazing poems and was brilliant at singing. The song was quite eerie and I love it. Ruth, Levi and Ewan all helped with the planning throughout, adding their ideas and helping with the stuff. To create the piece, because we all needed help with what we did. I want to emphasise that everyone helped and pulled their weight, and all together we created a piece that was really good. We all contributed ideas to the overall performance, and there's loads. Everyone did loads more that I can't really think about. I'd probably be here all day if I did, but there was just so much to do. Also, honorary mentions to Megan and Sophie for doing our lighting and sound for the piece. Legends, the both of them. So, on December the 5th, 7 days before our performance was to be done, our progress was as thus, right? This is where we were. Our thing was 3 acts, each about 12-15 minutes, for a total of 36 to 45 minutes. For a group of 9, this was allowed, but a group of 9 is very rare because our lecturer discouraged it from the beginning. So it's very difficult, because it's very difficult to do, having 9 people to act and care for, right? But anyway, we spent so long on Act 2, and not so much on Act 1 or 3, because part of our assessment, this baffled me, right? But part of our assessment, 25% of the entire module, was a work in progress, which I find baffling. 25% of the module was watching an extract of our performance when it's not ready. But hey ho, we spent like 70% of our time, I'd say, on that alone. Because that was being assessed, we couldn't spend much time on the rest of the piece. We had to spend our time just on Act 2. But we did the work in progress performance, which wasn't bad, but you could tell it was a work in progress. So I hope that based off that fact, that it's not being marked as a final performance, if that makes sense. Hopefully they look at that, they look at our final thing, and they compare them with what we ended up making to mark it that way. I don't know. But anyway, Henry gets back to us after talking to our lecturer, and our lecturer suggested that we cut our Act 1, so we just had Acts 2 and 3. This was a huge change because I'd learnt my lines for Act 1 and 2, and I was reluctant at first, thinking we shouldn't do it, but I think looking back, it was a good choice. You see, initially in Act 1, we'll begin on the floor, and it's as if we've all just been placed in the room. We're all knocked out. We wake up and we all see that we've been placed in this mysterious room. Then we are on our initial reactions to it and just sort of meeting each other, establishing characters and whatnot in their worst state in terms of mental health. Act 2 was us being settled in the room, generally enjoying ourselves. And then Act 3 was us being ready to leave, generally, and wanting to go, Oh, and the whole thing takes place over 7 years, as is faithful to the Mabinogi story that we chose to use. But now, after we cut it down by merging the old Acts 1 and 2 into new Act 1, most of us met up and we cut down the first 2 acts by meeting up and choosing what dialogue we wanted to keep from old Act 1 and 2, and then just merging them together. Our piece now started with us already in the room, in our worst state, and sort of interacting with each other, generally in Act 1, and coming to enjoy or come to terms with being in the room, and then just generally improving over the course of both acts. Even though through it, obviously, there are setbacks and arguments and discussions, there's character development, and I really like that. Our piece is now about 25 to 30 minutes, and it's much more concise. So it was a good idea, even if at first I was quite reluctant. As a group, we were struggling to get stuff done, because it is hard to get 8 to 9 people consistently busy or doing something on a stage. But we got there. I was initially against the merge at the start, but But I wanted to do it because it was a challenge, It was easier now that it's been cut down because we had a lot less stuff. This did mean, though, that our script was changed quite a bit. And it was a week before the performance as well, so we had to relearn everything practically in days, which was a challenge, but we all did it. Anyway, the week before the performance was very, very busy. We took performance time whenever we could, each day leading up to it getting done. Towards the end of the week, we had managed to have a proper run through. We were almost ready, almost last minute, we were ready, and it was decent. It was 2 months of work about to culminate in this, so it was quite scary. I also picked up the role of sound editor for another group, which was quite cool. Just cutting down the music for their group and converting MP4 clips that they wanted to use into MP3 so they could use it in the sound thing. And it's really easy to do if you know the right dodgy websites to convert something to MP3. It is easy, but it's just knowing the right dodgy websites that won't give you a virus. And also playing the sound for the performance as well. That was really scary, because if I mess up my own show, my own performance, that's my grade, But if I mess up the lighting and cause another group to mess up, that's on me, right? Even if it's up to them to stay in character, there's only so much you can do if it goes awfully, beyond fixing. So that was quite scary. But I had Christian, who was doing the lighting, to help me because he was there from the start, and quite late on I helped with the audio. And I hadn't seen the performance or tech to show before, right? I always hoped other people would be asked because I was always terrified of being asked. But once I knew everything, it was actually quite easy and, dare I say, fun. Like listening out for their cues, watching their thing, being there with the volume, being there with escape and space to start and stop stuff. And yeah. So the day of the performance rocks up. All in uni for 9, we warm up, and then our group practices for a bit. Then the second group practices, and I do the sound cues. So this was, I think, the second time that I saw a proper running through of their thing. And then the third group do their thing, we have a break, and then after the break, our group was the first to go because you have a door in the back of our piece, and they had to put this door up and put it down before we could do our piece and before others could go after us. I was quite nervous for this performance, a bit more nervous than normal, because one, there were hundreds of changes, and I don't even think we're exaggerating with this, that we've made since the start of the project, and we've all worked really hard on it because there have been so many setbacks, so many dead ends, so many ideas, and just so much collaboration. Because of the work in progress assessment and the change of our script, we didn't have loads of time to get used to it, but I think nerves are a bit natural anyway. That was more than one point, so I apologise. But yeah, we did the performance, and I think it went really well actually. There was one bit where I nearly stumbled over a line at the end, but it was okay, I think, because at the start my character is a bit of a nervous wreck, right? Well, nervous wreck? More self-conscious, I think, with no self-confidence at all. And the character's self-esteem and confidence is just, But throughout the performance, my character's self-esteem and confidence gives the impression of growing and developing. But by the end, when it's time to go back to reality, the others leave, and I stay in the room to wallow in my own self-pity. My mental health gets the better of me, and I'm trapped. I don't improve, and who knows what happens. There are 8 of us, you see, in this room, and a ghostly figure that checks up on us, and it's quite mysterious. It's in our headcanon as a group that I become the next ghostly figure for the next people to go in the room, and that the ghostly figure that we currently had, played by Casey, was the me last time this happened, if there was a prequel, if that makes sense, and I would be the ghostly figure in the sequel if that happened. It's really cool. I love the premise of our thing, the lore, do you know what I mean? After we finished, I stayed in my final pose as the only one on the stage while the audience leaves, and then once they've all left, we get up, we celebrate, and then we put our set away for the next group. I go up to the lighting sound desk, ready to do my job with Christian, and once they're ready, we go. They did their performance, and we did our lighting and sound cues. I was so relieved that I didn't mess up their performance. Mine too, of course, but but yeah, both the things that I played a part in, either on stage or behind stage or behind the audience, I got it right, and it was brilliant. We all smashed it. And then after the performance, it was time to celebrate. The first, second and third year drama students had a Christmas party. It was fab, wine, mince pies, popcorn, crisps, orange and apple juice with music. It was fab, mingling with all the different years. It was quite nice, especially with the first years who were doing Beautiful Creatures, which is the children's animal play that we did last year. I was in Vubu. It's really scary to think that was a year ago. Where has the time gone? Look at all the experiences and challenges and just general things that have happened since then. mental. It was a brilliant party bash, and after we were all done, we leave, and then about an hour later, we went to Wetherspoons in typical student fashion to get some drinks and some food. An end of term celebration, you know. I went back at about 9 PM because I was exhausted from the whole day, but others stayed out till about 11, I think. This was all yesterday, by the way. I'm recording this and I wrote it today, the day after. But it was a very productive day, and I was very, very happy. It's the end of that whole module too, because if you think 25% for the work in progress thing, which nobody liked doing, it was 50% for the final performance, so that's 75%, and then 25% for the essay that I mentioned in the last chapter. Those 4 things make up our first module being over. When we come back after Christmas, we're going to have our facilitation lessons, so going to places to run workshops for different people in different groups. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. Our lessons for this module have essentially been practicing facilitation with games and then talking about how you'd run it or whether the games worked and whatnot. We have been put into groups for this, but and our theatre festival module, which is going to be very exciting, performing to the general public. But both of those are topics for the next video. I know very little about it as of now. Now let's talk about the Theatre and Drama Society. I was going to cover this in the last video, but yeah. Almost since the start of the year, we've been going to it, which was run by older people at the time, although most of them left. And the one dude who was mainly in charge of it just left Henry with the main role in the deep end. We had plans of doing a play of some kind, which I mentioned briefly in part 1, but this wasn't possible because it was too late, and we didn't have the numbers at the time. So we do drama games, we catch up with everyone. We watched Our Beautiful Creatures thing, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Oh, Owen's! Yeah! That I put as an unlisted video on YouTube, and yeah, it's lovely, getting to see everyone and chatting and whatnot. After Christmas, we plan on doing stuff like showcases, I believe, but for now it's just maintaining the group that we have, It's nice to meet the first years. Like I said earlier, I know them more than the third years, because the first years I think talk more, but there we go. Next, I want to talk about the ambassadorship. So, on the 22nd of October, I went to this meeting. I don't know why I never mentioned this. I think I just forgot or something. But there were about 10 of us trying out for it, and they talked about what it's like to be an ambassador for my university. They had us get into groups and write stuff about what makes a good ambassador. What would you do if this happened, this happened, this happened, what not to do, and general things to think about and whatnot. Like putting up banners and how to act in certain situations and whatnot. It was only about an hour. No, it was 2 hours, 1 till 3, because I almost missed a lesson for it. But they said they would get in touch with those who were successful, and they got back to me on the same day saying that I got in. So it was brilliant. I got in, so I'm an ambassador for my university. I don't know how many others did or didn't get in. Although, on my first ambassador task, I didn't see any of them. So I don't know if if nobody else got in, or if they just didn't want to do it. I don't know. But yeah, I was very happy to get this. It's going to be a fab experience because, right, the way that I see it is that I might as well do as much as I can while I'm in uni. Because after uni, I don't know. But while I'm in uni, I try and do as much as I can. Plus, to say I'm an ambassador is really cool. I got my first ambassador shift on the 2nd of December, which was 8:30 till 3. It was a Saturday, so I had to stay here in Cardiff a day later. But during our shifts, we get paid, I think it's like £12 an hour, I can't remember, but it's very nice money. I try and get as much work as I can because I need to build my money back up now that I've got a car. I got my job at McDonald, of course I do. But when I can do ambassadorships or supporting artist work, it's a very tasty extra sum that I can keep in the bank for future me. Do you know what I mean? It was nice being able to pay off the car and my insurance in one. I got a free t-shirt and a lovely hoodie from it. I love a good comfy hoodie. It's lovely, you know, ambassador on the back, and it's got my uni logo. But it's great. So for our first shift, I was on the door. People were coming in with QR codes who had applied to view the uni. It's like a uni taster day thing. We had to scan their QR codes with this iPad that they give us. So scanning it, giving them a free refreshment token, unless they have one, and then guide them either to the cafe or to where everyone else was being held to see their courses. I also, with Belle, got to see the chat about my course, the theatre and drama course. It was like a walk down memory lane where our lecturer talked about what the first, second and third years do. Well, memory lane, current lane and future lane. Our lecturer called upon us a few times to describe what things were like. There's definitely parts I enjoyed more than others, but overall last year was really fun. The kids' show was the best thing that we did, and I missed the person I was doing that because it was so fun. Being in Verbo, the happiest hippo, was But yeah, at 3 o'clock it was time for me to go. I don't know when I'll get paid. I think it's in a few weeks, but uni pays everyone that they owe once a month on their payroll, so it might be next month. I don't know, but that's okay. I've since applied for another shift, which is middle of January, I think. So maybe I'll get that, maybe not. It's a fun experience though, being an ambassador for my uni. Free hoodie, free t-shirt, getting paid. It's nice to just say I'm an ambassador as well. But yeah, it's very, very worth it. I've also applied to be an ambassador for the Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol, on top of currently being an ambassador for my uni, which I think would be a fab opportunity to develop my Welsh and try different things. You know, making online content and helping around in Welsh. So really, immersing myself would be the best way to learn the language, in my opinion, right? Because there's no better way to learn Welsh than speaking to people in Welsh, doing things in Welsh, and having to actively try it, you know. I got an email about it, and I definitely I wanted to go for it, you know. There was a form and a short video that I had to complete and record with questions like, why am I the best choice, and how can I help? I felt like I answered these well, in Welsh, of course. I should really try and do one of these in Welsh at some point. One of fy mhrofiad prifysgol. Yeah. I should try and do one of these in Welsh, even if it's just a small part. Anyway, it was sent to me on the 3rd of December, and I completed it on the 4th. Hopefully I hear back, and even more hopefully I get chosen. There's a lot more fluent people than I am out there that are completely more fluent and first language Welsh than I am. I'm second language Welsh, right? But the way that I see it is that I could be the middleman between those that really want to start and are new to learning Welsh and the really fluent people. I could be in between that, because God knows that it's scary to try and speak Welsh to people who are really fluent if you're just starting. I make mistakes all the time, right? But it's just getting feedback, I think, and trying to work on it for next time. Or even, right, what's the most important is just getting the Welsh language out there. Like, outside of Welsh oracy exams, nobody speaks perfect Welsh. But yeah, that's my stance. and I'll be able to update you on this hopefully in the next video. Next I want to show you the night out with Loki and Tyler. This was on the 18th of November. They both came to Cardiff and we had a lovely night out. We went to Spoons, of course we did. It's for food and drinks. It's much cheaper than anywhere else generally. I accidentally unplugged a stranger's phone. I'm not going to elaborate on that. But yeah, food and drinks were had, and it was pouring down like loads. So we went to NQ64, which is an arcade bar that I'd never been in, but I'd wanted to try. And it's fab, right? For £5 you get 20 tokens and you can play on arcade games. It's so good. And like cheap drinks too. It was, I think, like £3 for a cider with a student discount. It was brilliant. At this point, when I was writing the script, the fire alarm went off.
Hello.
So anyway, loads of arcade games were had, and just things that we could play for really cheap. We went around trying to find something else to do then, because it was absolutely pissing down in Cardiff, and we'd been on what we wanted to in the arcade. We were drenched, and I could feel it in my shoes. Every walk was a squelch, and it was in my socks, and it was just We went to a bowling place, and we played in the arcade bit of that too, like, you know, trying the machines. Somehow, Loki won one of the claw machine ones, which is like the rarest thing ever. How the hell he did that, I will never know. We never did spend our tickets. But Loki will use them, I'm sure, or save them, I don't know. But yeah, it was a fab night out, and it was so good to see them again. Because after college, we haven't been able to see each other as often, and it's just, yeah. I do miss college. I love uni, don't get me wrong, but I do miss college. It's the short film celebration. So throughout November, once a week, about 6 of us who were making a short film for UrbanStamp, which was a collaboration with Magmatic Stories and Red Brick. Throughout November we were planning it and sort of coming up with ideas and whatnot. And yeah, about a week ago as of recording this, we went to go and see it being made. It was in Newport. So what I did was I took my stuff from Cardiff, including my suitcase, because I was commuting from here to Newport to back home. I wasn't going to go from here to Newport, back to here, get my stuff, through Newport, back home. I wasn't going to do that. So I just took all my stuff to Newport, and it's quite close to Newport train station, right? I arrive, and I meet the boss of Magmatic Stories, and he was putting up this banner, or he was struggling to, I think, bless him. And because of my ambassadorship, I knew how to do it. It was the same type of banner that we use at uni to put up for the course banners. So I put that up. I was quite proud of myself. I put on my story that because I've already learned something from being an ambassador. Yeah, I put the banner up. We were sat down, and then we just waited until they called us in. Really. I was sat quite close to the front, and they had this big screen where they were showing them. It was nice to see everyone again, because those that we had worked with, or most of the people that we'd worked with, were there, and it was just nice, you know. We sit down, and there's free drinks. There's these juices that were lovely, and it was all like local stuff as well, which they mentioned was important when we were working there, that they like to support local businesses, bless them. But yeah, it was so good. So we see quite a lot of short films that they've made throughout that year. We were the last ones that they made a short film with. So we watched them, round of applause, you know, seeing them all being made. And then finally, they get to ours. First they show the interviews that they did with us, and then they show the actual short film. And it was really good. There was one thing that didn't go right with the puzzle, because it was my idea that we have a puzzle to show respect, but the puzzle didn't arrive on time, so they had to use a chessboard. But it still worked, right? And watching that short film was really good. It was amazing, and I'm really proud of it to have put it with my acting resume. So we watched the short film in its entirety, and then we all leave the room, and outside of it, I love the aesthetic of this, right? But outside the room, they had each stage they took the short film in. Like first they went to schools to make sounds and plans and whatnot. There's a few other stages. Then they get to ours, which was actually thinking about the short film being made. Stage 5 and whatnot was making and editing and whatnot and showing. But I don't know what they used, but they used glass, right, as the paper, if you will, and then pictures and they lines and writing and whatnot. I don't know what they used, but it just looked so good. I want to use some of that for uni, but we'd have to. I don't know how, but just I really liked it. It was quite a nice aesthetic, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And then afterwards there was a Q&A about the piece and in general. I say goodbye to everyone, and then I commute back home. I got home at about 10 o'clock-ish, I think. It was the day before that Storm Dara business. I got home in time just before Storm Dara got really bad, because the next morning, literally fences were knocked over near me, people's bins and recycling were just, and it was awful. But yeah, it's been a really busy December. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So much has happened. Our first module is over. My second Christmas with everyone in the class has been brilliant. Since last year though, we have dropped a few people. There's a few people that we had last year that are no longer, I was going to say no longer with us, but that makes it sound like they're dead. But they dropped out. I think we lost 4 people. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 people. Maybe more, but I don't remember them. But yeah, the survivors, if you will. We've had our second Christmas together, and it's been lovely. Join us next time when I talk about whatever it is we do in the new year. I know that we've got the facilitation stuff. I know we've got the theatre festival stuff, but I have no idea what else is going to happen. It's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. But for now, this is the end of 2024 Jamify. Oh, and sorry, just one thing I wanted to mention. I've been able to use my car a lot more lately as well. It's great. I've been using it to drive my sister to places because sometimes mum finishes work quite late. So it's up to me then to drive my sister to a basketball thing. But being able to do that, it's quite liberating, I think that's the word. In that if I want to, I can just get in my car and drive. I love that. It took 2 years for the privilege of doing so. Throughout my time in college I was learning to drive, and a bit of uni time as well. So the fact that I can do it, it's brilliant. One time as well, after dropping my sister off, I went to McDonald's and I drove myself to the drive-through. I went for the first time. Is it sad that I was excited to do that? Because for years I wanted to go through the drive-through by myself, just to have had the experience of doing so, I wanted to do it, and I managed to do so. It was that important to me that I think I made it into a YouTube short. The fact that I did, it made me very, very proud, and it's just it's character development in a way, I think, because being able to drive, it means I can be more independent, and it's so much easier as a family as well. Because for Christmas, right, my job is going to be to go and drive to my nan. I'm picking my nan up, and then we're driving to this restaurant to have dinner, whereas my mum's going to be taking other people to the same place. So I'm able to help out a lot more now, and just having a car is brilliant. My automatic's like driving a go-kart because there's only 2 pedals. You got your brake and your gas. I just love it. Being able to drive, I love it. I paid 2 years of my life to be able to do so, and just being able to, it reminds me of how much of a struggle it was. But learning to drive, right, has been quite possibly my life's greatest goal that I've achieved. Right? This day that I passed my test, I'm so happy. I've got it framed because, yeah, I love it. This is quite possibly one of my life's greatest achievements. It comes very close with when I had 5 scripts back in college and I had to perform them all within like a week. I had 5 scripts jumbling around in my head and I did it. I smashed it. It was the same year I did Chicago, my 2 A-level stuff, and when I applied for the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. Alright. But yeah, so there's that. My next life goal is losing weight. As of recording this, I am about 12 stone 9, which is my record at the moment. I'm at the lowest I've been for years, but my target is 12 stone. I was 14 stone, like 4 or 5 months ago, so we're getting there, but there's still stuff to do. Although over Christmas, I will be eating a lot. I will probably be putting on weight. I will not be holding back over Christmas. I am not a psychopath. But yeah, I wanted to mention that because it's a very important part of uni life. I think that is everything. So, thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have a good day. Don't forget to drink hot chocolate. Stay safe, and from me, it is goodbye for now. Nailed it. How long until he notices?
Definitely not on the 20th because I'm seeing.
That's quite the name.
You filmed it.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to put you that from now on now. No, not that. Not the last one. That means I'm watching. What is that? What? Do the deep throat or something.